Hey guys, I'm Jessie, and today I am doing the Contradictions Book Tag. This is a really fun book tag, and the original creator is only for a page. I will leave the link to that original video in the description in case you guys want to check it out, get the questions, and do this tag yourself. This is a really fun tag. I really liked the questions because as readers, we can say like, oh, I love this in books. But then sometimes that thing you love like doesn't work for you, or even the opposite. That thing that you tend to not love like works for you, like in one specific book. So today that is kind of what all of those questions are about, and I am really excited to talk to you about this. The first one is, I love this genre, but did not like this book. So we're gonna get pretty specific because basically I read a lot of fantasy and sci-fi. So like there's a bunch of like fantasy and sci-fis I don't like. So in the realm of fantasy, I tend to really like fairy tale retellings and reimaginings. But the book that I absolutely did not like is Damsel. And this book was just a travesty. I really thought it was going to be like this really cool feminist fairy tale is how it was kind of pitched. And it was disturbing. Like there were moments where I was like, what is going on? Why? Ew, yuck, like what? And it was just terrible. Like there's not much I can say about how awful this book was without spoiling it, because there's like this thing, there's like realization. So there's like 3 ways to slay a dragon, or you need 3 things to slay a dragon, and it's like a prince, a something else, and like you don't know the 3rd thing. You don't know the 3rd thing until the end of the freaking book, and then you find out what the 3rd thing is, and you're like, whoa! Like it's a mess. I have a ranty, spoiler-filled chat about this book if you are more interested, because we are not going to go into those kind of details here today, but you can check out that video if you want to see why I absolutely despise this book. Next we have, I rarely read this genre, but I loved this book. And I, as a primarily fantasy and sci-fi reader, rarely, if ever, read like contemporary fiction, right? I just don't. But I read Heretics Anonymous, and I absolutely loved this book. This is a like kind of YA contemporary fiction following these kids that are at a private like Catholic school. And all of them are like slightly different, and they don't fit the mold of what a good Catholic student is. As somebody who went to a very strict private Southern Baptist school, I related so much to these characters. Like just that feeling of not fitting in, that feeling of like questioning the authority. But like when you're in that type of situation, like questioning authority is not something you're supposed to do. You are not supposed to question like, well, why do we believe this? Or why do we think this? Or why is this the way that it is? You're just supposed to roll with it. And like, I'm not down for that. And I really loved all of the representation in this book of like, it made me just feel super seen. You know, and granted, I didn't go to Catholic school, but the school I went to was a very strict Southern Baptist evangelical type school. I went there for 7 years, 1st grade through 7th grade. I have some stories, y'all. I actually have a story time on how I almost got expelled because Harry Potter. That was a thing. But yeah, it was a time in my life. And like this kind of brought me back, but like had me brought back in the best of ways. And so I really recommend this book. I loved it. And it's not inside my normal genre, like, at all. The next one is, I love this trope, but I did not like this book. And I don't read a lot of romance, but I love the enemies to lovers romance trope when it is done well. And I read The Cruel Prince by Holly Black, and it was not done well. I did not like this book. Again, I have a full ranty spoiler-filled video if you want, but The Cruel Prince just wasn't for me. Like, to me, this wasn't like enemies to lovers. It was like to the extreme, right? When I want enemies to lovers, I want them to like not be like physically assaulting each other or like that terrible to each other. Like, you can hate each other for, you know, reasons, or it's like, you know, your families don't get along, or, You have a lot of misconceptions about the other person. I can think of so many instances in so many books where I really love the enemies to lovers, but like this is not one of them. I did not continue on with the series. I actually stopped it after the first book because I just could not get behind that romance. The next one is I hate this trope, but I love this book. And I wouldn't say that I hate this trope, but it's not my favorite, and that is the love triangle. I am not the biggest fan of a love triangle, like, most of the time. I'm just like, just pick somebody or just tell them both how you feel and like go from there. But no, that's not how it ever works. And usually it's like one person is so much better than the other and you're like, how have you not decided yet? One is like the obvious decision, and kind of, you know, throwing that on its head and somewhere where it really worked for me was actually an Ash Princess. And this is a YA fantasy series, and I absolutely loved it. And there is a love triangle between our main girl, who is a kind of downtrodden princess without a kingdom, who's trying to kind of escape her fate and, you know, incite revolution and get her throne back. And then we have like the current crown prince, who she starts to fall for. But then she has also this like childhood friend that she thought was dead that is now like, she's also kind of falling for him. And so it's like she's falling for two guys on two opposite sides, but neither one of them is like terrible, and neither one of them is like glaringly obvious to me, like, oh my god, this guy is so bad, like why? But I mean, to me, I know who I want her to pick because I've only read the first book and I know my favorite, but like that could change. That could change. Another example of that is City of Brass. That is another one where it has a love triangle that I did not mind at all. Nari and Ali and Dara. And this is actually one where my mind changed. Like, I preferred one person at one point, and then my mind changed and I preferred a different person by the end of the series. And that to me means it was done so well. Because it wasn't like, it didn't feel like she was choosing between the two of them. You know, they were fighting for her love or whatever. But like, she was just growing as a person, and all three of them were growing. And these are two options, like two people she really cares about. So I really liked how it was done in City of Brass as well. So we got two answers for that one. The next one is I love this author, but did not love this book. And I love N.K. Jemisin. So I absolutely adored The City We Became, as well as the whole 5th season series. But I recently read and finished Dreamblood Duology, and it wasn't my favorite. I gave it, it's like a 3-star series, right? I didn't hate it, but I didn't love it. I mean, it might be 3.5, 4 stars, but I didn't love it the way I loved the rest of her books. Like, there was a lot of stuff in here where I was like, eh. And then the second book had a romance that I just like couldn't get behind, and a lot of triggering stuff in it, which N.K. Jemisin puts a lot of triggering stuff in all of her books, so be warned about that. But yeah, it wasn't my favorite of the N.K. Jemisin books I read. Not that I hate this, I actually liked it. Like I said, 3, 4 stars, but nah, in comparison to her other series, like nah. The next one is I previously disliked books by this author, but ended up loving this one. And for me, that is Cassandra Clare. I read all 6 of the Mortal Instrument books, wasn't really a big fan. Like, obviously I read them like years ago, so I was younger, so I didn't like hate them as much, but like now as an adult, I was like, eh. Didn't like them, felt real skeevy, just like wasn't good, right? So I had put off picking up this book forever, and that is Clockwork Angel. I don't have a dust jacket for it because I bought it used. And I was like, oh, I don't want to be back in the Shadowhunter world. I don't want to. And finally I put this on my exploding TBR at the beginning of the year, read it, flew through it. I loved it. I was like, I loved this series so much more. I'm definitely excited to finish the rest of the, what is the name of the series? The Infernal Devices is this one? There's so many. The Clockwork books. I'm excited to finish the rest of the Clockwork books. I loved this one. Leaps and bounds better than Mortal Instruments. The next one is I love this cover, but did not like this book. And it makes me sad. But this is the Fairy Loot edition of Witches Steeped in Gold, and I DNF'd the book. It's beautiful, right? Like, it's got pretty stenciled edges. It's got like a built-in like bookmark, It's gorgeous. I couldn't get into it. Like, I just DNF'd it at like 50 pages or 60 pages, maybe 100. I don't even remember because I couldn't get into it. I couldn't connect to any of the characters. I didn't care at all. So it's beautiful though. And the final one is I don't like this cover, but I like the book. And that's Warbreaker by Brandon Sanderson. Like, why can't we get a pretty cover for this? Like, other than the leather bound, like I don't like any of the covers for Warbreaker. And that includes the UK cover, which is better. Arguably, it's better. But I want the cool US covers. Like, I want it to match my other amazing US covers. All the rest of the Cosmere has really cool US covers, except for Elantris. I need a hardback of Elantris. But this one, like, what is this? It's awful. But I love the book so much. Like, I love Warbreaker, but like, this cover hurts me. All right, now it says to tag people, and I don't know who has and hasn't done this. So I'm just gonna go with, if you wanna do it, yo tagged. So go for it. Maybe I'll figure out some people and tag them in the description, but I feel like you should just do this tag because it was a whole lot of fun. Definitely go check out the original creator of the tag. She's got like a small page and she seems really, really sweet. Watched a couple of her videos, really liked her channel. So yeah, go check that out. If you do this, let me know. I'd love to see your contradicting opinions as well. All right, well, thanks for hanging out with me. My name's Jessie and I will see you next time. Bye.